Alright, what's going on, everybody? So, this is going to be a rebroadcasted podcast. Just because I believe Spreaker deleted this episode. This episode has gotten a lot of attention from me. Now, it's still up on my YouTube, so I can still record it and replay it out. It's not going to sound as great, unfortunately, but whatever. But I got a good message in here, I think, and it still stands. However, I haven't been doing... I give a warning out there to any fake fucking spiritual fuckers who's trying to fuck people's minds, get them to focus on shit they shouldn't focus on. So I give out a warning saying I'm gonna fucking, if I see that happening, I'm gonna fucking find out, figure it out, do whatever. But truth be told, I haven't really been watching anything from anybody who I was suspecting of doing that in a long time. I just stopped watching it, to be honest. Because, my time is pretty valuable too, and it's not that it's not a worthy endeavor, but it's not necessarily my job to go around and trying to be the fucking YouTube police and trying to say who is giving out shitty advice or fucking spiritual knowledge. I mean, people got to discern for themselves. So, apart from that warning, now if it falls right in my lap and I see it if I see it blatantly happening, well, that's one thing. And, I used to do that with T-Wiz whenever, and he wasn't giving out bad spiritual advice or anything like that. He was simply just, not doing specific practices and then saying they were bullshit. So other than that, I have no issue with Thunder Wizard, although I haven't watched him in a while. There was other people that I was watching because I was interested in them, and some of the things they said sounded good, and then all of a sudden I kind of had this other feeling come along and tell me that their intentions weren't good. But I stopped watching them. I got very busy at work and everything like that. But anyway, so this is a rebroadcast of an episode I made that was for a massacre that happened 31 years ago. This was last year, at the end of the year, before Christmas last year. So it would be like 32 years, or 31 and a half now. But it was also had to do with the Saturn and Jupiter fucking alignment that was happening on the 21st, and how people were making it into a death match, or it's gonna fuck shit up, or it's gonna whatever, blah 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 blah. So I also wanted to reclaim that intention behind that, remind people that we create a reality. So if we're gonna keep going around saying, hey, bad shit's gonna happen, well, there's no doubt why bad shit happens. So I'm gonna re-record that. I'm going to put this on my podcast without the songs, so I can't be nailed for copyright infringements, because Spreaker has recently changed, and I haven't been putting any songs on my new stuff. But I have this sneaky suspicion that there's one or two people who are going through specific videos when I talk about specific things and finding ways to copyright infringe me, because that's the way it works. Spreaker doesn't monitor my stuff. Someone has to report my stuff and hit me up and tell me that I'm fucking up, and then depending on the severity, it gets taken off. So I have to double check to make sure, but last time I clicked on the link, it does not bring me to my video, so it's been straight up deleted. And I'm going to record all the audio and re-put it out here and potentially add to it, because I got a few things to add since then and say. But that being said, every time I say I'm going to a song and or name the song, obviously there's not going to be a song on there, because, I can't fucking do that part anymore, which really sucks, because I really enjoyed that, playing DJ and all that, playing songs. And, copyright infringements I get on my YouTube because of it stopped me from getting monetized. And I don't give a fuck about that. Never have, never will. I make enough money through Spreaker, but if the episodes I make on Spreaker they get straight up deleted now. So it's not like I just get demonetized and I got an infringement, which means I can never monetize my channel, and that means whoever's shit is on there, if I do make money off of it, they get the monetization, right? So, but now it's at the point where they're just deleting my episodes if I infringe. So I can no longer put songs on there, even though I enjoy putting music on my fucking channel. But because, what's the point of making a podcast if my podcast is just going to get deleted? So it's not about like, okay, you just want some monetization. It's like, no, I don't care about that so much. My Spreaker does pretty well. It pays for itself, so that's awesome. But it's not going to pay for itself if every episode I put on I get infringements and they delete my episodes. So So just a shitty drawback. At some point, maybe I'll be able to figure out how to put music on there I want and paying the rights and all that. You know, I would gladly do that so that I could play songs and, you know, get a little bit of knowledge, get some songs. But I mean, I know for me, anyways, for the most part, when I listen to someone's podcast, I generally just like the information and not so much the songs, depending on my mood though. But I mean, if a song comes on and I like it, well, yeah, I'm gonna listen to it. But anyways, so that's that. I'm gonna play it now. It's got a little bit of good information, I believe, in there. Obviously, this has happened to a few of my videos now, and they all circle the same ideas. So that's why I believe it's, you know, one or two people probably doing this, but I could be wrong. It could be more than that. It could be just random. It could be whatever. Who knows? I'm not going to dwell on it because I don't really give a fuck. But yeah, so I think this is important enough to replay. And like I said, I'm going to add on to it to make it really fucking get my point across. So anyways, I hope you enjoy this shit. And yeah, I'll see you on the other side.
Eddie! She was kidnapped. The green-eyed man. This is terrible! I know.
Recorded like 19 minutes of an introduction for this new podcast, and it turned out that it didn't record anything. Although it said it was recording for the whole 19 minutes, so I don't know what I did wrong, but I did something wrong. Anyways, no biggie. I'm gonna have to try to recreate it. So what you're about to hear is my podcast. Nope. This is my podcast you're hearing. What you're about to hear is my video from YouTube, and my video from YouTube. Sorry about that. A bunch of fuck faces around my house. Don't know if I need to punch one of them out. No, I'm just kidding. Although I'm not against fighting people. No, I'm just kidding. That's not balance. No, I want to talk about balance here. So, after you hear my my video from YouTube, you're going to also hear Frater Xavier explaining Saturn, the Sun, and Jupiter. So initially, I listened to a video from Infinite Waters, Ralph Smart, and this Ralph Smart, I really don't like going against what he has to say, but I can't in good conscience agree like with his video, and you're going to hear me say this in my video from YouTube, but in good conscience I can't agree with him because in his not newest video, but maybe third newest video, 3 days ago maybe, he talked about the great conjunction of Saturn and Jupiter. You can see it from the sky. They're going to be, I forget, less than a degree apart. I don't know, 0.3 of a degree apart, something like that. And, you know, what I heard, and this could be wrong, but what I heard was you have to pick Jupiter because Saturn is picking our shitty world now. You know, and there's some interesting things in there, he said, and, you know, he predicted a 3-day darkness thing, and I get into all that in my video, but the main thing I want to elaborate here is why, let's say you can invoke Jupiter without going through your root chakra first, which is Saturn. Let's just say that's correct, because there is evidence that things like that can happen. So people don't open their root chakra, but they try to invoke Jupiter, and let's say they're successful. Well, cancer is a very Jupiterian disease, okay? Cancer makes tumors in your body. Well, when a tumor grows, and this is a very basic version of what happens, your cellular structure, your cellular division, and the death and rebirth cycle of cells, okay? So one cell dies off, before it tells 2 more cells to grow, and, you know, that keeps happening. Well, Saturn rules death. It's the Grim Reaper. It's time itself. Everything on our realm is governed by time. Otherwise, if we weren't governed by time, then we can just expand forever. And, you know, you can make the case that, well, maybe when Jupiter was the god of gods, that's why we might have had giants and all that. And then Saturn had to come down and say, no, guys, too far. I don't want these humans being killed by all these giants, so I'm wiping you all out, you know. That is a symbolic story of why you need to add Saturn to Jupiter, because if you let things expand and grow and grow and grow and grow, people won't get satisfied by getting a ton of money. They're going to need more and more and more and more and more. So without the limitation, without boundaries, without something to push against, you won't get fulfillment, you know? And, you know, I've come to realize that, you know, as within, so without, you know, how, like, when you're going for a goal, you're trying to receive something, you're trying to get somewhere in life, that's when you get that endorphin release. You get the dopamine and the serotonin and all that. That system tells you that you're doing good in life. And once you reach your goal, you accomplish it, well, then you got to find a new goal or else it's not satisfying. Well, that's within everything. And, you know, if you have cells that aren't limited by Saturn, that don't die off, well then if they just keep growing exponentially, it creates a tumor, okay? So the reason, this is just a good correspondence of how Jupiter needs to be restricted by Saturn within our realm. Because within our realm, we're not immortal. Means so we can develop these complicated diseases when we have too much Jupiter expand. Well, I want more and more and more and more, and Jupiter doesn't believe in not giving you more. Like there's no such thing as too much for Jupiter. So Saturn has to, you know, hold it at bay, kill things off so Jupiter can keep giving you some. You need a little bit of debt, and then you can get some more money, and, you know, stuff like that. It's a cycle. It's a circuit. You can banish your debt. This way you can enjoy the money that Jupiter gives you. But if Jupiter keeps giving you more money, then you might just keep getting more debt. If you want to keep getting more credit cards, if you decide to start focusing on all the things you don't have, Jupiter can give you more to focus on. You know, we need Saturn there for that balance. That's probably the best way I can put it. The only other thing I'd like to add to that is the Bible. Now, as much as I like to promote the Bible has good messages in it, the worst thing the Bible does, in my opinion, you know, and I mean, this is part of that whole victim mentality thing and all that, because I think this is a byproduct of it, but I think above that, it suppresses 4 to 5 of the planet energies within everybody. Okay, so we can argue that Mary is a part of the moon or Venus or both, but it's not a full. It's not all of Venus. It's not all of the moon. It's like half of each of those aspects. But they've turned Lucifer into, you know, Lucifer is half of Venus already fucking gone. So there's at least 4 planets that they have you focus on Jupiter being Jesus or Peter, and they have you focusing on the Sun, which is the Son of God, which is also Jesus. But it's like you have those two. But the dark side of Jupiter is you get, you know, more of what you don't want, and, you know, you enhance your problems and all that. Or if you're egotistical, which is like a dark side of the Sun, having too much ego, thinking you're all smart, and you have blind faith and things like that. You're going to hear Frater Xavier talk about this. Well, let's say you have those two, and you have the dark side of both those two. Well, you can become a pretty zealot, fucking arrogant, self-righteous person, and we see that a lot within that religion, because they're not embracing all the other planets. They're all of the devil. So when I see someone talking about Saturn's bad, Jupiter's good, I just see Satan and God, you know, the Old Testament versus the New Testament, shit like that. And it's like, it's unbalanced, and I don't like it. And this is not to insult Ralph Smart. I think he makes his videos for a reason. I think there's a certain type of person that needs to see exactly what he talked about today, and from there, it's going to help them out. So I think it's a useful thing, and I don't know why I feel like I'm betraying him, so to speak, and why it doesn't bug me to go against someone like the Thunder Wizard as much, you know, although I learned quite a bit from the Thunder Wizard as well. But, you know, there's a lot of things I learned from Ralph Smart. Like I read the Kabbalion because he started talking about the Hermetic principles before I even got into magic. So when I got into magic and I heard Frater talking about the Hermetic principles, I already knew them. And that's because of Ralph, you know. I stopped eating meat, which gave me a whole bunch of clarity and a whole bunch of healing and different things like that. For me, I'm not saying everybody should stop eating meat. I'm saying when you stop eating meat, if you have a specific physiological, the way your body is, it might be beneficial. Or it might be detrimental as well. So don't use that excuse to keep eating meat. Don't use it as an excuse to stop eating meat. Figure out what's good for you. Everybody needs to figure that out. And you can only figure it out. It's like, well, how did you know, Corey? Well, trial and error. I tried it and it worked. If I was to try it and it didn't work, I felt like shit and I was getting sick and all that. Well, then I'd start eating meat again. You know, but that didn't happen. So all that's to say is, that's where this video is coming from. It's not out of a need to correct or propel myself above someone like Ralph Smart. I watch Ralph Smart. I listen to him because he's got a big following, and people put value on what he teaches, and I want people to do that with what I teach one day. So if I watch people that do that, then I become like them. And I learn some teaching techniques and styles and a whole bunch of different things from Ralph. So that's why I watch him, but I can't, my conscience is screaming at me like, that's wrong what he's saying, that's wrong. Like I said, I was waiting for him to say something like, Saturn's not bad, it's the way you use Saturn that's bad, and people have used it in these dark ways, and we got to stop using it in those dark ways, and embrace Saturn, and use both Saturn and Jupiter together. But I didn't hear that. I heard just like Jupiter, and Saturn being bad, so that's where all this is coming from. So I'm going to get the show started, I guess, now. And that wasn't like 19 minutes like the last one. It was only about 8 minutes, but whatever. I probably babbled on for nothing. So since we're talking about the god of this realm, Saturn, okay, is the god of this realm. Jupiter is, and once again, there's like this thing, especially for males, that they can't become a man until they symbolically kill their father. Is like this saying. It's like an archetypal story, and it's true until you either, have this fight or separate from your father or stop worrying about what your father thinks about you and you do you can't really become a good ruler or a good father or take on the responsibility of a family and all that. You know what I mean? So there's something to be said about, Zeus being Kronos' son, or Jupiter being the son of Saturn. So, and, he's the king, the restrictive, oppressive, disciplinarian king, and Zeus is the spoiled brat that has a lot of money that just wants to help and see people do well. But it's like only what Saturn is, if you think Saturn is only, because they both have good and bad sides, right? But you can't just be that selfish kid who wants to just give his money away to other people and think his money's never going to run out, because the king's going to be like, no, you do that, you're going to run out of money and you're not fit to be king. But you also can't just be the oppressive old man who just like bosses people around and do what I said because I earned it, and you know what I mean? So you have to have the balance between the both. But anyways, I think that's enough. So I'm just going to play the song Hail to the King by Avenged Sevenfold, as 10 sevenfold, and I dedicate it to my man Saturn up there, the ruler of this realm. But I guess the last thing I just want to say quickly is this celestial spiritual warfare people like to talk about. Well, if we want to stop that, we shouldn't be starting off our new age of Aquarius when we have these two heavy hitters, the god of expansion and the god of restriction, father and son, so close together, right around Christmas time, visiting family around Christmas time, guys. Like, I mean, I'm not Christian and all that, but, the holidays are upon us. On the 21st of December, father and son are getting together in the sky. Instead of turning that into a beautiful thing, we're going to turn it into a fucking war, a death match. And then we like to say the celestials and the things that happen in space affect us down here, but when we start interpreting what's going to happen before it happens as a fucking war, then is there no doubt why it becomes war down here? Now, I know we have evidence of when these planets come together and they're opposite planets. One's fucking air, one's fucking water. I get all that, but I'm just saying we create our realities. So why don't we try something other than what has always been? You know what I mean? Why don't we just say, what if this is them two getting together up there to see if we can coexist down here? If we can have Saturn's old laws with the new Jupiterian way of life to create something better than the paradigm we already have, is all I'm saying. I think that'd be a better strategy than just having this death match between father and son, god of fucking expansion and god of restriction. Because telling you right now, Saturn's going to win because there's not enough people that actually have the Jupiterian energy. And if they did, they had to open their chakra to get there, so they understand that they're both needed. So it's like Saturn's going to have way more people on his side than Jupiter, and you're just going to get Jupiter fucked up. So let's not get Jupiter fucked up, because we need all these energies. Just because Saturn may be the ruler of his realm doesn't make him any better than Jupiter. That's a bad way of thinking. But what it does do is, sorry, my dog's barking outside, I keep losing my train of thought, but, Saturn is the ruler of this realm for a reason. Saturn in Libra, right? Saturn in Libra. Libra is ruled by Venus. Venus is this earthly realm. Why is Saturn the death, the god of death, exalted in the god of love's fucking sign of Libra? Well, this is something I learned from Frederick Xavier. The movie Titanic. Everybody knew how that was going to end. Everybody knew Jack was going to die because of whatever. And yeah, everybody went to see it, and it might be still, I don't know about today, maybe if you take the monetary value then to today's, and it might still be one of the top grossing movies. Well, because that's Saturn death, sacrificing for love, Venus, you know? That's the archetypal story that everybody loves, and that's why it's the god of this realm. You know, the movie about Zeus and stuff like that don't do nearly as well as the movies that are archetypal about Saturn and Venus. You know, they go together. You need restriction with love. You need boundaries. That's why you put a ring on and you sign a contract when you get married. The ring is Saturn. It's Saturn's ring. It's you're binded to your partner now. This is all stuff from Frater. So I'm going to play Frater. I'm going to play stuff from my book. Not my book per se. I didn't make the book. I say this another time in here. It's not my book. Liam Thomas Christopher's book, The Greater Ritual of the Hexagram of Why it's so goddamn important. From not aging as fast to lessening the planet's effects on you, just like the lesser vanishing ritual of the pentagram reduces the programming and elements effects on you when you're doing your neophyte. Well, then you get to reduce the effects of those emotions in your limbics, those emotional deities in your limbic system within your brain by using the greater ritual of the hexagram. So then when stuff like this happens, you have no need to worry. Anyways, I think that's enough for now. So hail to fucking Saturn, baby. Hail to the king right here on Saturday of all days of the week. I love it. Oh, man. Starting off with a cough. Real good. Got my hair. Doesn't look too bad, eh? A little shorter than it used to be, but what's going on, y'all? Made a video 2 days ago. Made a podcast episode yesterday. If you just heard I'm wearing my winter gear $200 fucking onesie for working outside. I like calling it a onesie, it's just funny. But, you know, I don't get cold in this fucking thing. Made by Dakota, I believe, is who makes it. Yeah. Dakota. That's a brand name for, you know, tools and shit and wear gear. You know, yeah, that. My Puma toque. Oh, double-sided toque. Go either way. It's kind of cool. I really like it, actually. This toque is bomb. Oh, diggity. Sorry, first smoke of the day. It's kind of fucking me up. All good. Driving by Walmart today with my wife, and the Canadian flag was at half-mast. I'm like, do you know anything that happened today, or is there something bad that happened, or something going on? I was like, no. Oh, it's just maybe a windy day. They put it down like that. No, something more to that, babe. She's like, oh, today's the day that there was a massacre 31 years ago, 1989. Man in a engineering whatever killed 31 women, or no, killed 13, I think, women in Montreal, Quebec. So I think they're honoring that. He was fighting feminism. It was an engineer class, I believe, and he didn't think women should be engineers. Now, you know, these kind of guys would have be losing their shit today if they still thought that way, that women were, you know, beneath men and shouldn't be in these workplaces, because we're getting more and more our society's trying to become more and more egalitarian, and rightfully so. Equal opportunity is a great thing. Equal outcome is going to be hard to do with a whole bunch of other things, but I mean, my household, my wife makes like more than 3 times what I make, okay? So take my salary, you times it by 3, I'm not touching what my wife makes yet. You have to add like $7,000 to that, and then I'm at what my wife makes. But that's like dividing up by 3, you know? So you divide my wife's by 3, and then you have to minus $7,000, and then you're at what I fucking make. It's pretty sad. But it's not sad. It's going to my household. Like, I don't care. Understanding that, you know, I helped her get there is enough for me. And I didn't do the work to get her there. Like, she did the work. She did everything else. She did everything that was necessary. But when we started dating, like, I was there to watch her kids when she had to go finish school. I was there to... Put it down like that? No, something more to that, babe. She's like, oh, today's the day that there was a massacre 31 years ago, 1989. Man in a engineering whatever killed 31 women, or no, killed 13, I think, women in Montreal, Quebec. So I think they're honoring that. He was fighting feminism. It was an engineer class, I believe, and he didn't think women should be engineers. Now, these kind of guys would have be losing their shit today if they still thought that way, that women were, beneath men and shouldn't be in these workplaces, because we're getting more and more our society's trying to become more and more egalitarian, and rightfully so. Equal opportunity is a great thing. Equal outcome is going to be hard to do with a whole bunch of other things, but, my household, my wife makes, more than 3 times what I make, okay? So, take my salary, you times it by 3, I'm not touching what my wife makes yet. You have to add, $7 grand to that, and then I'm at what my wife makes. But that's dividing up by 3, So you divide my wife's by 3, and then you have to minus $7,000, and then you're at what I fucking make. It's pretty sad. But it's not sad. It's going to my household. I don't care. Understanding that, I helped her get there is enough for me. And I didn't do the work to get her there. She did the work. She did everything else. She did everything that was necessary. But when we started dating, I was there to watch her kids when she had to go finish school. I was there to help pay the bills and work while she was, going from job to job and trying to find her way. And she went through all these different call centers because of me, and then she took the opportunity to apply for Service Canada, took the test and all that, and then wowed them at the interview and all that. And that's because I was able to be there financially supporting her, because whenever she got that job, I was making decent money for my town anyways at the time. And, that's what we bought our house with, was my big income, because I made more than her at that time. And now she's triple that income. That's not with adding the $7 grand. Triple that income I was making, and we considered that to be good money. Her income's it's off the chain and off, so I'd be double. But, I don't know. I really don't know. I have this idea of what I made, but my wife always corrects me and says, no, you need more than that. No, you need more than that, I always think it's 20 grand I make a year, I'm poor. But it's I almost have 40 grand there. And so it's that's why I said I don't know if it's a third or half. But the point is, I know right now, especially with my last year of not working and being on EI and all that, and, I'm not trying to glorify staying at home and being on EI, especially for men. But if you are going through something spiritual or something, transformative, or you're trying to better yourself, sometimes you need that clarity, get away from work, and then you go back to work, and things change, and they help open up ideas and whatever else. But so all that's to say is when it comes to me and my wife, she's blowing me out of water money-wise, but it's not a competition. I don't want that to sound it's he's just trying to be a good loser. It's I don't look at it like that, We don't look at it like that. She makes great money, and that's fantastic. If there's overtime on Saturday for me, she's going to do the overtime. It's no bueno. I'm not going to do the overtime. She has to. So with her salary being more and having that bigger income, it's more responsibility, meaning if we need extra money, we both get offered the overtime. Well, does it make sense for me to drive an hour away, hour and 15 minutes away, wasting that gas to make my time and a half? It still makes it worth it for me. Or her staying at home, making triple I already make, and then when you add overtime, which is time and a half or whatever to that, it's it makes no sense. So that's part of her responsibility. Pros and cons, right? I make less, so it doesn't make sense for me to have to drive that far to make less money when she can just stay at home and work in her fucking pajamas. You know what I mean? So, but the men that think that women should be below men and whatever the case is, it's I agree to a certain extent that if you have small children and all that, I think it's important for a parent to stay home. I'm not going to say a woman. I said a parent to stay home. That's up to the woman. Always 100% up to the women. Not up to us. We don't get to say, women, you go back to work, I'm staying home with this kid. It's no. She did all the work. She has to go through all the shit. Her body, her changes, all that. So she gets to decide what she wants to do. And we stand there and we say, okay, whatever you want, babe. That's how it should work when it comes to those decisions, I'm not saying every decision should be like that. We just got to stand around and just do whatever our wife says. No, that's not a healthy relationship. But when it comes to matters that, yeah, it takes 2 to make a kid, but it does not take 2 people to carry that kid, and it takes one woman, extraordinary woman, to carry that child for 9 months and deal with all the psychological and the stress and worrying about your body after, worrying about, all this stuff that they go through. We think we have an idea of it, and we don't. But, we can't. It's our job to just support. So, and if the woman says, you know what, and that's what happened with my last child. My wife got this great job that she has now. She was starting entry level at it, and if she didn't take it, she didn't know if she would get another chance to take it. So, whatever you want, babe. She was already off by 5 months at that point, and she decided to take the job. So I got the other, or 6 months, and then I got the other 5 months, something to that effect. So that's how that played out. But it wasn't like, I don't get to pick that. But the point is, I think it is important for a parent to be home with your child, especially in the earlier stages. I mean, in a perfect world, we could stay home with them until they start school, but we don't have that perfect world, although I managed it. My daughter, my 4-year-old, okay, she started school this year, and except for maybe 6 months, I'd say, she was at a daycare, which really helped, by the way, which really helped her learning capabilities, being around other kids. It really sped it up. So maybe I got in the way of that, but I managed to stay home with her the majority of the time that that she was, growing up. So, it's possible. But anyways, I think it's important for that, because they need that attention. If the kids don't get that attention from their parents, I mean, if you bring your kid to daycare all day and then you come home after work, you pick them up, it's like, how much attention are they really going to get from you? And it's not your fault. I'm not blaming any parent that does that. I mean, if you're working and your kid's in a daycare and you're doing your thing and you're paying the bills and taking care of them, I mean, all the props in the world to you. I know how fucking hard that shit is. It is not fucking easy at all. At all. By all means, I much respect. And I'm not saying that because you can't give your kids a half an hour or an hour of attention after working 8 hours and having to pick them up, rush home, make supper, get the extra activities done and clean up the house and whatever, make, all that shit, get them ready for bed, brush their teeth, all that shit. If you can't scratch up an hour for your kid, I mean, I understand that. I am not dissing you. If you can do it, then you're like a fucking superhero, because I can't even always do it. It's like 100%. I'm not even gonna lie. I mean, even when I was home with her, I had some days I had trouble giving her an hour of attention, and I was home with her all day, So I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that's why I think it's important, if it's possible, if you can financially sustain it, if everything kind of lines up for you to work out that way, I would take that opportunity, even if it means a decrease in salary. Giving your kid that attention that they need and that love they need while they're growing in those fragile years is going to be beneficial to you. But if you can't financially do it, well, then you can't. And it's not your fault. And then you just go with the punches and you do what you can do. And that will be that. That will be good enough. You'll make up for it. You'll make mistakes and you'll make up for those. And that life goes on. Don't dwell on the things you didn't do. If you didn't get a chance to do them, well, now you know, and now you know how to fix the problem. And all is good, There's no need to dwell on shit. Anyway, so at the beginning of this video, you heard my intro to my podcast yesterday. And part I'm going to focus on right now is what I said about Saturn and Jupiter, father and son, getting together in the sky around the holidays. To me, that's a better way to look at it than, shit's going to get fucked up. Opposites are coming together. Opposites attract, are they not? And the father and the son have opposite opinions on how to rule the cosmos or this world, or however you want to put that. So it's going to start a war. And people down there are already picking sides. I'm on Team Jupiter. I'm on Team Saturn. It's like, no, you fucks. You are both of them. They're both within you. It's like, you don't pick one or the other. And I mean, I know how ridiculous it sounded when I said father and son getting together for the holidays and all that. I get that. I mean, that's not, plausible. And like I said, in that part, in that beginning, we have the evidence of when opposite forces in the heavens come together, shit happens down here. But we also know that we create our reality. So if what is put in the books says this is ultimately going to happen, well, that creates that programming for when this happens again. This is what's going to happen again. But there's also something else in other books that say what's written in books isn't always truthful, and it isn't always the final decision. Whenever we are the wild card always that we can create what can happen, well, then we can take a situation like this and change the outcome by envisioning them two getting along. Both good aspects of them coming together to make a new paradigm, both their shittier aspects of them, working together to not be so shitty. I mean, because you still need rules. If someone who doesn't want to grow up thinks it's shitty to fucking get a job and pay bills and all that, it's like, well, you know, you have to do that. You don't get to stay at home and just watch YouTube all day and think you should just get money for free. That's not how this works. And if you're hoping for that, well, you're going to be very disappointed in your life. But you can find something you love to do that makes you happy when you do it, that doesn't feel like work, and get paid for it. That's finding your passion, but it takes work. You're not going to find it by just sitting in your mom's basement or in your dad's house or wherever you are, just sitting at home watching YouTube videos thinking you're getting enlightened by watching these videos. And if videos say by watching this you're going to become enlightened, well, you're once again going to be very disappointed because it happens within you. Then you can take the information from real teachers and they'll tell you how to pull out that information from within you, and then you go and practice those things, and then you pull that out, and then from there you find your passion potentially, but you're not just going to be able to sit at home and watch videos and then become enlightened and find your passion and bliss and make it profitable and then just get to stay there, watch videos without doing any work. I mean, there is going to be some work, but the goal is to do work that someone else values, that will pay you for that work, but at the same time, to you, it doesn't feel like work. It feels like play. It feels like fun. Time goes by fast. And if videos say by watching this you're going to become enlightened, well, you're once again going to be very disappointed because it happens within you. Then you can take the information from real teachers and they'll tell you how to pull out that information from within you, and then you go and practice those things, and then you pull that out, and then from there you find your passion potentially, but you're not just going to be able to sit at home and watch videos and then become enlightened and find your passion and bliss and make it profitable and then just get to stay there, watch videos without doing any work. I mean, there is going to be some work, but the goal is to do work that someone else values, that will pay you for that work, but at the same time, to you, it doesn't feel like work. It feels like play. It feels like fun. Time goes by. That's finding that passion and bliss. That's not enlightenment either, though. If you want to be able to heal people or have powers or be able to receive information from the cosmos and all that to use for people, that's my kind of idea of a job. I'd be able to get, if I can come on here and, you know, speak and teach and whatever the case is and help people grow and solve problems with using that channeled information that I get, you know, that would be beautiful. I love that, you know, that's my job. So that's why I'm cultivating this beginning steps while I still provide for my family while working a job that I semi-enjoy doing because I can see, you know, this house has no troughs yet, okay? So we put that all on there so that there's no damage, and then we put on the siding on the house after, and then we do the masonry and we do the bricklaying. We make the fucking place beautiful. We make it not so beautiful to beautiful. I can see it. So it's fun, and I'm learning how to do this stuff, which is stuff is very useful. If I ever, you know, later on, if I ever decide to move to other countries and help build houses for God knows who or whatever the case is, well, I know how to do foundation. I know how to do fucking roofing now. I know how to do the bricklaying. I know how to do the masonry. I know how to do the siding. I know how to do the eavesdrops. I know how to do the interior when it comes to putting up drywall. I know how to put studs. I know how to do headers and footers for whenever you're framing the house. You know, I don't know how to do the roof truss per se yet, and a few other outside landscaping things. But for the most part, I'm getting a great foundation on how to build a whole fucking house. And at the same time, I'm providing for my family. You know, so I'm getting this information at work, and then after work, I get all this other information that I can use. So it's win-win for me, right? But anyways, I don't know why I got into that, but that's the goal. So don't just think you're going to be able to sit at home and become enlightened by doing nothing and watching YouTube videos. It's not going to happen. Now, you use some guided meditations potentially to connect to things if they are really sincere and you believe they'll work or whatever the case is. You don't have, you know, differing information telling you that they're bullshit. If you actually truly believe that, well, those things might guide you to some information and unlock some potential within you, but it'll only take you so far without you changing the intention to what you really want. I'm not really going to get into that, but what I want to talk about is the tragedy that happened 31 years ago today in Montreal, Quebec. And I don't want to talk about it because I get very sentimental and emotional when I talk about anybody murders, and, you know, and then I feel the families pain, and then it feels so real for me. Like my eyes are starting to water just thinking about it right now. So I don't know if I'll go into that too much, but it's a damn travesty, and my condolences go out to anybody who's still alive who had family that lost someone during that time. And I never even knew about this, but I mean, in 1989 I was only 3 years old. So, but then there was one in 1992, which in 1993 I was 7 years old. That's when the Habs, Montreal Canadiens, won the Cup. The year before that, in 1992, there was another shooting in Montreal. And then in 2006, which I would have been at Algonquin in Ottawa in college, there was a shooting at a university in Montreal. I think the first two were women-related, and the last one was just a shooting. But that might have been women-related too, and they just didn't want to fucking mention it. Who knows? I can't say for sure, but I don't like that this is, 89 to 92 is what? 3 years? 92 to 2006. It's quite a bit. Bigger difference. So, I mean, it's getting further and further apart, right? So that's something to look at, and it's better. And if we mold our society in a way that equal opportunity, when the new generation of boys are born, like I was born thinking women and men are equal. Therefore, my kids are also going to think that. So right there, as soon as the last generation that believes that men are above women are dead, then this is no longer a problem. That's kind of what I'm saying, and maybe why, you'll see it less and less throughout time. Obviously, there's still always going to be something there, like I showed a few videos ago with Peterson talking about the men who hate women and they blame God for making those kind of women. Those guys go out and they're mad because, women don't pick them. Maybe their mother was an asshole to them as well, which shapes their religion. It's all connected. If your mother is a prick to you, if your mother's a bitch and makes you feel less than all the time, and you go out, every woman you see, you're going to think they're like your fucking mother. So if you manage to get past that for a little bit and get feelings and start dating this woman, well, then those emotions are going to come back up and you're going to just trash your relationship, and then you're going to blame that woman, and your proof is going to be, oh, my mother was the same way and this bitch was the same way, so they're all the same. So it's all connected, whether it's you think you're mad at women because they won't pick you, or your mother was a bitch to you. So, I mean, it's connected. It all stems from the same fucking thing. And it's just one of those things that I can't explain or even try to, because I don't know. I'm a man who has 2 kids. My wife has kids with another man as well, who has 2, and then he's got another 3, 2. He's got 4 kids, and he's not some big fucking winner of the gene pool or anything like that, but he was chosen to procreate with. Why is that? Why was I chosen for that? Does it come down to looks? Does it come down? I mean, we know these things about testosterone and all that, and we know things like, and I got nothing against any woman that takes the pill. You guys have the right to do whatever you want with your menstrual cycle, with your ability to have children or not have children. That is nothing for me to even fucking want to even touch, okay? But we do know that affects certain things like that, because it's supposed to regulate and whatever else. And, where a girl who is on the pill, whenever she is ovulating, she likes a man who has features that say he's got more testosterone. Whereas nowadays, women on that, they have that less of that estrogen and they don't ovulate. I don't really know how it works, but it fucks with that system a little bit. Therefore, the woman doesn't always go after a man who has those features. And anyways, and then maybe when they stop and they realize they're with a man and they pick this man differently, and now they're really ovulating, having kids, and they're turned on by all these other men, and it's like, well, what do I do? Is that the woman's fault? Or is that because she took a pill to be responsible and not have children at a young age? Now she wants to have children, and anyways, that's just something to think about, but I don't even want to go down that path. But all this is to say that I have no respect or no anything for any man out there who thinks he's above women. If any man thinks he's above women and thinks he should be able to dominate women or whatever the case is, you fucking come to my fucking house, buddy, and I'll fucking teach you how to respect women. Because I have no respect or no anything for any man out there who thinks he's above women. If any man thinks he's above women, thinks he should be able to dominate women or whatever the case is, you fucking come to my fucking house, buddy, and I'll fucking teach you how to respect women. Because there's no fucking room in my society, in our society, for that kind of shit anymore. Let's throw that shit by the wayside. Once again, I'm all for a parent staying home with children. If that wants to be the woman, that's up to the woman to decide. If she wants the man to do that, then that's up for the man to decide, or for them to decide together. But once again, I think it's beneficial. And if a woman wants to take on a traditional role of being home with the children, then by all means, that's probably the best bet in our society for that, because a man is not always perfect for the child, but one parent staying home is better than no parent staying home. Once again, if you can't, you can't. I'm not saying you have to. I'm not trying to offend anybody. Like I said, we didn't do it for all our kids. Like, one out of the fucking 4 kids got parents stay home. So,
Clean enough, I guess.
ACAL Polytechnique Massacre language. Watch edit Polytechnique Massacre redirects here. For the film describing this event, see Polytechnique film. The ACAL Polytechnique Massacre French, Tuerie de l'École Polytechnique, also known as the Montreal Massacre, was a mass shooting in Montreal at an engineering school affiliated with the Université de Montreal. 14 women were murdered, and 10 women and 4 men were injured. ACAL Polytechnique Massacre. Plaque at ACAL Polytechnique commemorating victims of the massacre. Location Montreal, Quebec, Canada. Date December 6, 1989. 30 years ago, target women at ACAL Polytechnique de Montreal. Weapons: Ruger Mini 14, hunting knife. Deaths 15. 14 by gunfire, including the perpetrator, and 1 by stabbing. Injured 14. Perpetrator Mark Lepine. Born Gamal Rodriguez Garvey. Motive: misogyny, anti-feminism. On December 6, 1989. Mark Lepine entered a mechanical engineering class at the ACAL Polytechnique and ordered the women and men to opposite sides of the classroom. He separated 9 women, instructing the men to leave. He stated that he was fighting feminism and opened fire. He shot at all 9 women in the room, killing 6. Lepine then moved through corridors, the cafeteria, and another classroom, targeting women for just under 20 minutes. He killed a further 8 before turning the gun on himself. At the time, the incident was the deadliest mass shooting in Canadian history. In a search for a rationale since the attack, there have been debates over various interpretations of the events, their significance, and Lepine's motives. Many characterize the massacre as an anti-feminist attack representative of wider societal violence against women. The anniversary of the massacre has been commemorated as the National Day of Remembrance and Action on Violence Against Women. Other interpretations emphasize Lepine's abuse as a child or suggest that the massacre was simply the isolated act of a madman, unrelated to larger social issues. 3-4. Still other commentators have blamed violence in the media. 5. An increasing poverty, isolation, and alienation in society. 6. Particularly in immigrant communities. 7. The incident led to more stringent gun control laws in Canada. It also introduced changes in the tactical response of police to shootings, changes which were later credited with minimizing casualties during the Dawson College shooting. Open main menu. Combined shape search. Dawson College shooting. Language watch. Edit. The Dawson College shooting occurred on September 13, 2006, at Dawson College, a cégep, located in downtown Montreal, Quebec, Canada. The perpetrator, Kimber Singh-Gill, began shooting outside the de Maisonneuve Boulevard entrance to the school and moved towards the atrium by the cafeteria on the main floor. 1-2. 1 victim died at the scene, while another 19 were injured, 8 of whom were listed in critical condition, with 6 requiring surgery. 3-4-5. The shooter later committed suicide by shooting himself in the head, after being shot in the arm by a police officer. 6. It was the 3rd fatal school shooting in Montreal, after the ACAL Polytechnique Massacre in 1989 and the shooting spree at Concordia University in 1992. Dawson College shooting. Dawson shooting 1. JPG. The Dawson College campus on de Maisonneuve Boulevard minutes after the shooting. Location Montreal, Quebec, Canada. Date September 2013, 2006. 14 years ago, 12:42 to 12:48 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Target Dawson College. Attack type school shooting. Spree shooting, murder, suicide, mass shooting. Weapons: Beretta CX4 Storm, semi-automatic carbine. Glock 21.45 caliber. Semi-automatic pistol, Norinco HP 9-1 short pump action shotgun. Deaths to including the perpetrator, injured 19. Victim Anastasia D'Souza. Perpetrator Kimber Singh Gill. Motive various possible bullying, personal stress, depression. Last edited 8 days ago by Momcut. Related articles. École Polytechnique Massacre. 1989 mass shooting in Montreal, Canada. Terrorism in Canada. 2000. Open main menu. Open main menu.
Sorry about that. My son's out here without fucking a coat on and being a little prick. I love my kids. I call them little pricks. Fucking damn right. I call them a lot of fucking names. And, it's like little pet names. Anyways, doesn't matter. No, you did good. Doesn't matter.
Montreal, Canada. Terrorism in Canada. 2000. Open main menu. Open main menu.
Sorry about that. My son's out here without fucking a coat on and being a little prick. I love my kids. I call them little pricks. Fucking damn right. I call them a lot of fucking names. And, it's like little pet names. Anyways, doesn't matter. You can be a little prick. They can all be little shits. They can all fucking piss me right off too. Fuck, they make me mad. But, I wouldn't change it. But anyways, I am just simply making this video as a tribute to all the women, and I think there's like a man too. You'll hear it in a second. I'll play it in a second for you. If I hadn't already played it, I might have just played it too when I took that break to yell at my kid to put a coat on. But if this is just a shout out to everybody who may not know. Okay, how do I word this? Word this correctly, Corey. Come on. What would you say? This is a tribute to all the people who are harmed, hurt, killed in all three of the incidents that I mentioned from the past. Because there's no room for that in this society. And I just wanted to connect it to what I was saying about Jupiter and Saturn. So we can make this new conjunction about a war before it even starts. We're the 6th of December today. It happens on the 21st, so we're like 14 days away. And already, people are starting that it's going to be bad, this is going to happen, 3 days darkness, blah, 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 blah. It's like, when are we going to learn to stop stressing about things before they fucking happen? When are we going to learn to stop pretending that we know what's going to happen and just let things happen? And if we were smart, we would sway things the way we want them to go and not the way we don't want them to go. And you can say, well, maybe that's what they're doing. And probably someone pretending to be holier than thou telling you there's going to be fucking war and bringing up all the bad things in society constantly and then pretending to be fucking a good guy is like, well, all you talk about is bad shit, bud. So what the fuck is up? Are you really spiritual, or are you trying to make the fucking world burn? Because if you're trying to make the world burn, well, I'm going to find out, and I'm be coming after you real fucking soon. And I'll fucking highlight everything you've ever fucking said and fucking show everybody where your paradoxes are. So let's knock that shit off, because this is a fucking warning. And if that's not the case, well then let's change it up a little bit. Let's make something good happen instead of all this shit happen. Let's not have any more of these George Floyd incidents, and let's not have any more of this coronavirus bullshit, and let's not have any more protests and Black Lives Matter shit. That's a fucking good movement, and I am all for the people standing up for their own fucking rights, 100%. And all those things needed to be done, and I back them up. But what I'm saying is, let's stop those situations from happening in the first fucking place, so that things like that don't have to happen, so people don't have to take a beautiful movement like the Black Lives Matter movement and use it as a way to fucking pillage and take and steal and cause havoc and use it to polarize us even more. Taking the good intentions and standing up for your own beliefs and rights and changing into some kind of war and battle. Taking Saturn and Jupiter coming together instead of harnessing that energy and seeing how beautiful it is and enjoying what could happen and and brainstorming on the possibilities of good that could be brought out of that, we take it and brainstorm on all the bad that's going to happen. And that's what I don't want to see anymore. I'm sick of that shit. I'm sick of people pretending to be spiritual, saying all this bad shit to everybody. When they promote that we create our reality, yet they go out there and say what the bad things are going to happen and get 1 million fucking or 100,000 or 50,000 minds involved and push what they want to happen onto those minds, use their platform to fucking make things come into existence. That I'm not going to stand for anymore. If I think that's happening, I'm going to come after whoever's doing that shit. And, you know, I got fucking 52 fucking subscribers. That ain't much, but 52 fucking people will find out about your bullshit. And if those 52 people know another 52 people who know another 52 people, well, eventually it'll get the message across that someone does not have the intentions of the whole at heart. So let's focus on the change we want to become and not the change we don't want to see. Let's stop giving energy to shit we don't want to have, that we don't want to happen. Let's put our energy in something we do want to happen. Anyways, that's it for today. It's Sunday, and I'm going to go enjoy time with my family before, 5 a.m. goes fucking early ass in the morning, man. I don't need to, I want to do things with my girls and my sons and all that and have a great weekend. So if I come back on, it's because I need to. I need to fucking whoop someone's ass because they're, guiding people's minds in the wrong directions. And by all means, anybody who I attack, if they want to come after me, well, then go for it, buddy. I got nothing to hide. I've been open about my drug addictions. I've been open about my marriage. I've been open about working. I've been open about what I fucking manifested. I've been open about everything. I don't have dirty laundry out there that people can use against me. I take it out and I put it out fucking on purpose. I am far from a fucking perfect being. I am far from someone who has a great fucking life. But what I do have is a life that I'm grateful for. And I have people I have to protect. So if someone's out there saying stuff that can put the people I protect in harm, then you are an enemy of mine. And don't be fooled. I may believe in balance and treating people right, but I'm not going to stand for anybody who's trying to be secretive and hidden and hiding their real motivations behind some persona of a spiritual person trying to help everybody when really you're trying to harm. I'm not going to stand for that, and I'm going to fucking come after you with everything I fucking got, both behind the scenes magically and both up front with the fucking videos for the people to know what the fuck's really up. So if you're one of these people out there, watch the fuck out. Change what the direction you're going into and maybe potentially make it a fucking better feel, because it's not going to happen. And I'm not just going to attack people for no fucking reason. I'm not just going to be like, well, this guy said this. His whole thing, the whole 90 minutes was great, and then these 4 minutes was bad. It's like, okay, that's a mistake. But it's patterns you gotta look for. So you see patterns. Someone plays a video, maybe it's twice a week, maybe it's every day of the week, maybe it's 3 times a week. And in those videos, so they always talk about one thing, they always put in something that they want you to focus on, and then hide it with some other stuff. You know what I mean? I'm very good at picking out patterns. The witch mind, when it sees patterns, it breaks down the pattern and it goes down to where that pattern started, and basically from there you can see the trend and where this person's going with this, and it makes it very obvious what their intentions are. So anyways, that's my plan for at this moment. I'm going to keep talking about what I think is good and what people want, but at the same time, if I have to use someone as an example of what not to follow or what not to watch, or why this person has your interest, not your best interest at heart, gone like that. And I mean, I'm not taking credit for this, so don't say that at all. But I said I was going to stop watching The Thunder Wizard because he was in scarcity. And I've watched the last fucking 4 videos since I did that video, and he is giving out beautiful knowledge. He is helping people. He is a whole new man. And I'm not saying I did that by any stretch of the imagination, but what I am saying is he's not the same guy he was before. And I'm fucking grateful, and I couldn't be happier that he's, the way he is. I mean, in once again, he maybe just said he had to go through something. Maybe I was just full of shit, and I was projecting my own bullshit on him. I don't know, but it doesn't matter. He is now full of value. He's offering value. He is taking what he does and he's putting it up there and showing people why it's worth something. And like, it's hard to argue with what he says. I fucking, if I had the money, I'd fucking do it up right now. I'd have to do a candle to get the money to pay for his program. So, but I'm just saying, like, I've always wanted a reading from him as well, but it's a little pricey. It's a little up there for me. And I get it, man. That shit takes time. So, I mean, obviously they have to charge that much. I'm not saying it's too pricey and he should lower his prices for me. I'm saying I know that the money you pay for a fucking astrology reading, so I'm covering this on, I know the money you pay for an astrology reading has to be pricey, but I can't necessarily pay that whenever I have to pretend a jolly fat guy is going to come give my 4 children a bunch of presents. I mean, that's kind of a hard thing to fucking afford this time of year. So anyways, that's all I got to say today, but just remember, it was fucking 31 years ago where some man who didn't think women were valuable enough or worthy of an engineering class. So he came in there and he separated the men from the women, took the men to get out, and then proceeded to kill these women. Then I think he killed another fucking 9 after that, both stabbing and shooting. Like, this is fucking ridiculous. And I'm glad this is in the past, and that's where it belongs to stay. It belongs in our past, and never again to be in our present or our future. And I believe that about every bad act, and that's why I gave this warning out here. If I think someone is trying to do things, whether it's with spiritual power or just people's attention, I am going to fucking point it out and make it obvious to the world and make you fucking fall in the process. But anyways, remember that. Let's remember our past so we never fucking repeat those mistakes again. Anyways, have a great day, everybody. Just maybe a little thought for anybody out there who doesn't know what to think about the information I just gave out there and all that. And I mean in the sense of, if is it literal or is it metaphorical? And if you're more on the fence of literal, I would just like to point out maybe something to think about. God created these angels and created Lucifer. And then Lucifer fell in love with his own pride, his own self, and managed to deceive other angels. These are direct creations of God. No mother, no father. God created us. He created us so elaborately. If you take this literal, He made us so elaborate that we can maintain ourselves. We create ourselves. A man and a woman have sex, make a baby, that kind of thing. And then there's so many babies that, 2 women or 2 men, or people that can't have babies can adopt babies. The point is, we can do it on our own. We don't need God to create us. The angels apparently are above us, which is not the truth in mine. And what I do, the angels are these spiritual beings, and their job is to protect us. And they are created thought forms that we use for protection, to help us out. The archangels, I invoke them every time I do my rituals. So, for anybody thinking I am doing the devil's work, you are very, very wrong, because I invoke the archangels every time I do my ritual. And I'm on first name basis with the archangels, and they got my back. So, and I have the permission to put this stuff out. They actually like me talking about this and getting people's eyes open, believe it or not. But we'll talk about that in another video. But what I'd like to leave you with is, if you think this is a literal story, the fallen angels that were created by God, whether you want to think of Lucifer or any of the other ones that fell, these are perfect beings that are above us, that had all this knowledge of good and evil, and whatever the case was, and they had free will, and they were able to love, and they fucked up. They fucked up large. Why would you think that we were made? Like, I guess what I'm trying to say is this: that these fallen angels, the story about the fallen angels, is a good story of how easy it is for us to make mistakes and screw up. We can screw up pretty bad sometimes, and that's a good takeaway. It's why it's a good metaphorical story. But if you want to take it literal, it's like, well, if an angel can't abstain
from sex, and abstain from going out there and spreading its seed and telling secrets and gossiping and, spreading word and knowledge and information, and they can't stay true to God and they question God themselves. And what makes you think that we have the capability to also do that? And you can say, well, that's what this story teaches, is that, this is what happened to the angels, so we better not do it. And it's like, okay, that's one way to look at it, but I think the better way to look at it is the consequences and the things that can go wrong when you do it. Not that this should be used to try to keep us in line. Be like, oh, watch out, you do any of this bad stuff, God's going to whip your ass. It's like, well, but a lot of people did some pretty atrocious, heinous, violent acts, and their karma and what they received was nothing like this. And I know the idea of Hitler in hell getting a pineapple shoved up his ass every hour, something to that effect, like it was in Little Nicky there, the Adam Sandler movie, is a great idea. Think about all his crimes, his war crimes he did, but the truth of the matter is he could just be a reincarnated soul somewhere else who never received that karma. So just to leave you with the thought is, something to think about is, simply put, if the angels have trouble sticking to God's plan and God's will and doing God's work, what chance do we have of doing it? And is that even what we're supposed to be doing? Because this book didn't come down from God. It came from man. It came from human beings that were trying to teach us something. And then later on, human beings that may have wanted to have slaved us and may have wanted to make us feel like, we are nothing compared to God and the angels and all that. But I'm here to tell you that we are more powerful than the angels and the demons and the devils and God himself. And when I say God himself, I mean the God of the Bible. I don't mean the all that is. We are all that is. We all make up that life force energy that most people think of as God. But God is not a big enough word to describe our Creator. And demeaning our Creator to the God of the Bible is something I think everybody should try not to do. But that's just a little fruit for thought. But we are all that is. Now, we aren't God ourselves. We aren't a God ourselves. But we are, in a sense, a demigod, because all of us make up a piece of God, and when we're all together united, we actually are God. And until we can unite and be on the same track and agree to disagree and realize that we got to just be on the same team and work together, then we won't ever see God until we do that. And, another thing I'd like to leave you with is something I learned from Birch. And it's a little thing he talks about. If you're running a coven, if you don't have a us versus a them, that's going to happen within your coven. And if you keep your coven bigger than 13 members, well, then it's going to happen much faster. You're going to have little cliques within your coven, and they're going to oppose you. So if you don't give your people an us versus them, they will create one within the group. And if you're the one in charge, you're going to be the them. Kind of like when your boss is your friend, then all of a sudden too many people get there, people feel oppressed, people start getting on board with those people, feel bad for them, and then all of a sudden the boss that was your friend is now your enemy, or everybody doesn't like the man. Well, it kind of reminds me of what happened with Lucifer and those 1/3 of the angels that were on his side. There was, even within heaven, that happened. Tower of Babylon, same idea. It got so big, so many people there. And apparently the story is God came down and fucked with them, said, oh, you're never coming up to heaven, and then changed all their languages so none of them could communicate with each other. But, and there's other interpretations of the story that say the same thing. There was separation happening there, us versus them, within our societies, within the political schemes of, well, even Canada where I am, but the U.S. is really remarkable how it works there, the us versus them. It's literally a big polarity battle, so blue versus red, which is kind of interesting way this guy said the red was the good guys, blue was the bad guys. Like I said, he had a right hand in the background of his picture, even though he was spreading liberal ideas. Kind of makes you think he's on both sides of the fence. But wherever you have groups, You're always going to have an us versus them. It's very hard to avoid that. And that's because we're born and created into polarity, and we learn about good and evil, up and down, hot and cold our whole life. So it's very hard to separate that. And the more depolarized you get, the less you see that as being important, and you can start to understand how to become in the middle. And then as a result of that, even this stuff about God versus the devil seems silly to you, and you're able to see a little more clear. And I would say that would even be the case if you're a devout Christian and you try to become depolarized. You would see and be able to agree with people that maybe don't have the same beliefs as you, but you can have, like I said with that girl, at first I thought maybe she was an idiot, and that's not very nice of me to say, and I know that. But as it continued on, as I realized that some of the things she believed in were the same as mine, just she learned it in a different way, I was able to agree to disagree on some things, and ultimately see that, she has some wisdom within her. I never played that clip, though. I know I'm talking about a clip of him play, but maybe I'll play it in a future video so you can see what I'm talking about. But that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. When you come to polarize, you can agree or disagree with someone who has different beliefs, and it doesn't matter. And that's how we get God incarnated on earth. That's the only way Jesus will return. That's the only way we're going to get salvation. Either that or we destroy the earth, and then we'll see the devil come back. But it's not going to be like how the Bible says it. It's literally going to be either we all come together or we all get separated. So let's choose the right path, shall we? Anyways, I hope you enjoyed. Have a great fucking night.